Version 7 was released around 10 days ago, and here are 14 things that you need to know. These tips will kind of be all over the place, so feel free to skip around using the timestamps below. The first thing you should know about is this awesome FAQ created by some members of the Midjourney team. You can find it at promptfacts.notion.site. Big shout out to everyone who worked on this, lots of good tips inside, and I'll be making a video diving deeper into some of these strategies soon. And maybe I should have introduced myself. My name is Nolan. I've been using Midjourney for a long time now, and I have a PDF of my favorite mood boards that you can download for free in the description below. And if you're interested in over 100 more, you should consider joining the 300 other people in my community. Speaking of mood boards, they don't work as consistently in version 7 as of right now. The Midjourney team is working on an update though, so some of these bizarre outcomes won't last forever, but you should know that your results using mood boards and style references could be a little wonky. And if you are getting those wonky results, try to add a short description of the style itself in the prompt. This assistance will help guide the bot. You can even run one of the pictures in your board through the describe function so that you can really tell the bot what to focus on. In addition to the mood board code, you're going to want to prompt for the style as well. This next tip might help you out in case you get confused. Right now it seems like you can't search your gallery for images made in draft mode. This kind of drove me crazy the other night. I was looking for a picture, I knew when I created it, I knew the prompt, but I couldn't find it using the search bar in my gallery. Eventually it clicked that I had to just scroll, but hopefully this can be changed in the future considering how important draft mode is going to be. You see how it disappears? That's not good. Personalization is also a big part of Midjourney's vision for the future. They added a quick menu up near the prompt box to activate different codes that you've created. Because of this, you'll actually find it easier to just leave certain codes on. And if you don't want them to affect your generation, you can use --p none in your prompt. This will run on the regular V7 algorithm. It's way easier to do this than to remember to write your P code every time you want it. Kind of a different workflow. Remember P none. You should also know that both the image editor and the upscale system are currently running the version 6 algorithm. I will say that if I didn't tell you that, I don't think you would notice. I mean, both work as expected, but we will be getting updates to these systems eventually. Just had to let you know. In case you're completely new to version 7 and haven't seen my other videos, let me explain the difference between draft mode and standard mode. Draft mode is not meant to produce your final image. Draft mode will create your images nearly instantly, and sure, the pictures you create might be alright, but there will also be more errors than usual. You want to use draft mode for perfecting your prompt, and then you want to take that prompt into standard mode, or use the enhance button to run that particular image through the standard algorithm. Next, you should know that enhance isn't an upscale. It's going to reinterpret the image slightly to try and fix certain imperfections. I don't think it's easy to predict what will happen to the pictures, but enhance is definitely the best way to get an image out of draft mode. Also, using draft mode plus repeat is a lot of fun. You'll notice just how much variety can be found within a single prompt. Let me show you. So if we prompted for a woman in purple armor, and then we type --draft, that will make sure this prompt runs in draft mode. You could also select draft mode in your settings, but if you forget to do this, make sure you write it in your prompt. And then we want to use the repeat parameter, --repeat, and then a number between like 1 and 32, I think. Maybe it goes up to 40. I don't think you really need to go that high. Maybe just 5 will be good enough for you to get a sense of what this prompt is going to create. I left my personalization codes on, that's fine, but look how different the pictures are. Like just across these 12 right here. None of them are really similar to each other, and that's without using any other parameters. Version 7 just provides a lot of variety, and you can see that clearly when you use the repeat parameter on a single prompt. Another thing that is completely new to version 7 is the conversational mode. This mode, found at the top here, allows you to prompt with natural language. This is so great when you have like a random idea but you don't know how to prompt for it. Just type in photo shoot for a blue goldfish and see what happens. And then what's really cool is that you can continue to just talk to the bot and ask for changes. But you should know that it's not going to make the changes to those exact pictures. It's going to make an entirely new set of pictures based on your instructions. So try not to get too attached to any individual image. And you can use your voice to guide the prompt. Click this button at the top and speak to the bot directly. Can you add a purple whale to the photo? Okay, these are kind of awesome. I got this next tip from Brett in my community. He said that you can tell the bot not to submit until you give a specific word, such as go. So that will let you get all of your thoughts out before it submits the prompt. Don't submit the generation until I say go. I'm thinking like, we have our bluefish, we have our whale. Could you make them have a picnic, but like maybe not above ground? Can you create like an underwater picnic? Maybe have Atlantis in the background, kind of like zoom out the photo a little bit so we can see our two characters and then the background. Go. All right, maybe, the generations weren't that great, but still a pretty cool tip to make sure it doesn't generate accidentally anything you don't want. I don't have much personal experience with this next tip, but Andreas from my community said that you should tell the bot that you'll be writing in your native language. In this case, it was German, but the bot should be prompting in English. Does that make sense? Apparently, Midjourney might have trouble translating certain foreign words into the visual medium, but if you speak in your native language and then get conversational mode to translate into English first, your generation should work out a little better. Let's make a new image, and I'm gonna be speaking in French, but I want you to prompt in English. Can I see a poisson avec un poulet? A fish with a chicken. Again, this might not apply to all of you, but if you try that trick in action, please let me know how it works for you. Now I want to do a quick MythBusters segment for you. You may have seen this tip floating around that you can add certain file type vocabulary to your prompt in order to make the photos more realistic, like image_022022021.heic. And I don't understand why this advice spreads so quickly when it actually isn't true. I mean, you can test this yourself. If you run a prompt with and without that file name using the same seed number, you can identify what changes actually occur. Let's try this right here. We're gonna use a turtle on a boardwalk with seed number 2049. It doesn't matter what seed you choose. And then we're gonna take the words we're trying to test and we're gonna put them inside of curly brackets with a comma at the beginning. This prompt, thanks to that comma, is now gonna run with and without the words inside of the curly bracket. In this way, we'll be able to see what effect those words had on the prompt. Now, I will say that this image right here didn't work very well. It's kind of painterly, so maybe that file prefix really did something. I mean, all of these images aren't bad, but take a look right here in number 3. That is the same picture. And what this proves is that you don't need this file type to create a picture that looks like this. A turtle on the boardwalk, and you can get that right away. I mean, there are some changes that occur, you can't get those other ones, but I think you'd expect something more tangible, especially because you can prove that not using the word can produce the same results. I think that means the word itself is not that meaningful in the way you think it is, and therefore it's unreliable. Let's run another example. I got this from the same post that I saw advertising this trick. You would expect one of these to be much more realistic than the other. How does advice like this go viral? I don't understand. It's the same picture with and without that prefix code. Like what? Who is giving these prompt tricks without trying it out like this? Like this is such a simple test. This is even the same picture. Sure, we didn't get this one and this one without this prefix, but again, what does that mean? If you contrasted this test with the word elegant, you would see just how strong a suggestion can or should be, which is why I say this little file name trick is a busted myth. It doesn't really do anything, nothing tangible. So if we do curly bracket, then the word we want to test, like elegant, close curly bracket, your subject will say Batman, and then a seed number -- seed, and then you can type random numbers on your keyboard. We're gonna see what effect elegant has on the generation. And trust me, you're gonna see a big change. When I see people handing out prompt tricks, especially ones that go viral, I expect a change like this. One word will put Batman in a suit. You don't need to say Batman in a suit. It's just elegant. And if you're interested in the process of recreating certain pictures using Midjourney, you should really check out this video now. I hope you're doing well, take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.